Craig Ray is with us this morning, a rugby writer and broadcaster from South Africa, to talk to us about how things are going with the Springboks, a potential quarter-final opponent for Ireland if we make it that far. Craig, we're not feeling very confident, but I guess you guys are feeling pretty confident because the Rugby Championship showcased all the best of Rassie Erasmus's team and squad.
Yeah, it did. We are pretty confident in South Africa, but I guess the Springboks have a very good sort of World Cup track record, even in sort of mediocre years. You think of 2015, they went in on the back of 3 defeats in the Rugby Championship, and there was still optimism, and notwithstanding the Japan result, they made it through to the semi-finals anyway. So yeah, there's high optimism, but I must say it's certainly a lot better than it was a year ago, because the thought of facing Ireland in the quarter-final was really worrying for the Springboks. Right now, there's still a lot of concern that playing someone like Ireland's a tough match, but there's a lot more confidence that the Boks could win it compared to 12 months ago.
Given the Rassie Erasmus factor, not only is form a big plus point for you, but it's the knowledge that he has that surely gives huge confidence in terms of this potential fixture against Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his background with Munster will certainly come into play there. But I think the Springboks are really targeting that opening game against the All Blacks. So, they want to avoid Ireland. They would rather play Scotland or Japan in a quarter-final than Ireland. I mean, that just goes without saying in terms of world rankings and in terms of recent success. I mean, Ireland are a dangerous opponent. But, if you get to the quarter-finals of a World Cup, you're going to have 3 pretty tough matches anyway to go on to win the tournament.
What has Rassie done, apart from bringing back all the players who were previously unavailable for selection for whatever reason, to suddenly turn South Africa back into a team that everybody, and I'm serious about this, that everybody else in the world is terrified of at the moment?
Well, I think a couple of things. Getting those overseas players back certainly helped with depth. And what he's done in a very short space of time has been able to build depth in each position. There's at least 2 players now that are capable of stepping in and producing quality similar to that of the first choice guy, if you like. And that's come through a very clear selection policy, a very clear idea of what he wants from specific players in specific positions. The other thing that he's done really well is had clarity on a game plan. For too long, the Springboks have been very unclear about what they're trying to achieve. Erasmus hasn't tried to do anything too fancy. He's trying to shore up the defence. They're working on this sort of hard outside-in defence. And that it's taken about a year to bed down with Jacques Nienaber. Initially, Nienaber tried this sort of drift defence, and then he came to the conclusion that sort of oscillating between 2 defensive systems wasn't going to work in the time frame they had. So he's gone all out for an outside-in defence that is high risk, as we've seen the Springboks get exposed occasionally out wide when the wings get it wrong. But they've got good scramble as well. So they've built their game plan around that kind of defence. And then from an attacking point of view, they've really worked on the kicking game, tactical kicking game, getting the halfbacks to kick tactically, getting the wings to chase accurately, and also to defend the kicking game, which has been a factor where New Zealand certainly exploited the Springboks for quite a few years under the high ball. So Erasmus is just, and then the third thing is a pack, a tight 5 that probably is second to none in the world right now. We saw the scrum dominate in the Rugby Championship, and he's always had powerful scrums wherever he's been, and from that base he's been able to add some layers. So I think in a short space of time he's managed to cover a few of those bases.
Could you talk to us a little bit about that kicking game, Craig? Because it's obviously something that Ireland has implemented quite successfully at times under Joe Schmidt, but it's under the microscope in Ireland at the moment whether or not we should proceed with especially the box kicking game from Ireland's scrum halves.
Well, look, watching Ireland for the last few years, Conor Murray and Johnny Sexton have been peerless in that part of the game, and then Ireland's success in the last few years has been built around that. The British and Irish Lions' success in New Zealand was built around that, and the Springboks' success in New Zealand has been built around that. I'd be surprised if Ireland veered from that so close to the World Cup. It's, World Cup games, especially the knockout games, are going to be cutthroat. They're going to come down to 1 or 2 mistakes, winning penalties in crucial areas of the field. And the kicking game gives you I think, the best way to make yards quickly and put pressure on the opposition, turn defence into pressure quite quickly. So I'll be very surprised if Ireland veer from that in the big games. Obviously, in South Africa's case against a Namibia or a Canada, there's a lot of scope to try a few other things in those games. But in the crunch games, it's going to be playing the percentages and cutting back on errors.
In terms of an attacking philosophy, you kind of talked about the defensive philosophy. How do South Africa like to play the game? Is it exclusively based around the kicking game at the minute, or are they trying to get their centres involved in the game? Are they trying to run over teams, run around teams?
Yeah, they're certainly scoring tries, and it comes from the kicking game is in field position. And once they're in the correct areas of the field, all through phases, they've got the big strike runners running off one-off runners. You've got the likes of Malcolm Marx taking it into contact with one of the big news forwards. Peter Steph-Toy has been a strong carrier at Grand Computer. And they set up a few rucks. Even Damien Derninde at centre, he's been under criticism in South Africa, but he hasn't really done anything other than under instruction, which is run it hard and straight and set up pods. And then they got the speed out wide. They've got the tactical nous to manipulate defence. The try they scored to draw in Wellington this year came from a line out. They worked it left and right, and they went through about 11 phases before they worked Willie Leroux into some space down the blind side, which created the overlap for Chess and Colby. So they're very clever in how they do it, but they're very measured as well. They're certainly not a well-oiled enough machine yet to play like the All Blacks that we've become accustomed to in terms of program play.
Yeah, I've got to say, Craig, the way you're talking about them, we could have subbed in South Africa for Ireland 18 months ago when Ireland were at their best, getting to that point where we were capable of beating South Africa, beating Australia, beating New Zealand. Our form has come off horribly since then, so there's like real doubt and fear amongst the Irish commentariat in rugby land that we're actually going out there and who knows what's going to happen. Everything is on the table, including a defeat against Scotland or Japan, or, in our case, that might happen in both games. Who knows? And at the same time, we also could turn it around and kind of feel confident. So have you any sense of where the rest of the world are at versus what tier South Africa are in? Because we certainly would have South Africa and the Springboks, South Africa and the All Blacks in the same tier at the moment.
Look, I mean, you guys have obviously been a little too pessimistic, I think. I think Joe Schmidt's a very smart coach, and I don't think, if Johnny Sexton and Conor Murray are fit, Ireland are going to be a tough side to beat, and I would put them right up there with New Zealand. I still think New Zealand going into this tournament as favourites. South Africa in that sort of second run with Ireland, England and Wales, I think. And then Australia, I can't see Australia winning a World Cup. They might have one really good knockout game in them, but I don't think they can put three performances together. And that's another thing that the Springboks managed in the Rugby Championship, was one of the question marks. Can they put three performances together in 3 consecutive weekends, which is what you're going to need to do at the World Cup? And they tick that box as well. So I think, they go into the World Cup in great shape, but you're only as good as your last game. And, if it comes unstuck against the All Blacks in Yokohama, the old doubts will creep in. So that is a big game. Not so much in the sense that the Springboks have to win it, but they have to perform really well in that one to keep the confidence and the momentum going.
Good stuff, Craig. Thanks for joining us this morning. Hopefully we'll talk to you before the quarterfinals, and probably before that indeed. Thanks a million.
Fantastic.